Good afternoon, everyone, or evening, depending upon when we post this. I should start over. Just kidding. Once again, it is Alex,
And Ryan.
and we are here yet again talking about Survivor Winners at War, episode 9.
9. I'm pretty.
Woo! I got it right. Go team. I have a lot to say about this episode. Ryan, how are you feeling about the situation?
I think that possibly this was the best episode of the season, and I try to say that with as little bias as possible.
I wonder what possibly could have happened to have both of us in such a great mood about this episode.
I don't know, but
We'll
let's
have
get
to, we'll have to uncover what that could possibly be. Um, yeah, overall, general thoughts.
just happy things.
Yeah.
Just it's all positive vibes.
I
Those are my general thoughts.
I think you were the one that I texted. I think I just gave birth to my lower intestine because I was so convinced that certain individuals were all going to make it to the final 8, and I've never been more thrilled and more excited to be wrong in my life. But we'll get into that later.
So we kick off the episode, and there's a little bit of aftermath of Wendell leaving.
Yes.
The two people who are in the minority of that vote were Michelle and Nick. And we kind of immediately see Nick jumping to this mentality that he had in the season where he won, which was like when votes did not go his way, he did not react well. He was basically like, I'm going to pick up my toys and leave, is kind of how he reacts. So.
Oh my gosh. I found it really, really funny that Nick, the overall theme of Nick this entire episode is, I'm sick of not being treated as a player in this game. What? And I'm just like, okay. Or it's like, it's time for me to start doing anything. And I'm just like, it is day 23. And you're saying now is the time? And this is why I was not a crazy fan of Nick winning and why I was not crazy about his inclusion in this season, because he's effectively doing everything I expected him to do, which was not much. So
it is a little confusing to me because I find there to be a level of hypocrisy when he was on the Red Tribe and every single person basically voted for Tyson and every single person basically voted for Amber. It wasn't a problem. And then when he was on Cele, every single person basically voted for Parvati. I know Michelle threw her vote, whatever. And then everybody else voted for Yul. It wasn't a problem. But now that he's in the minority, it's a problem that people won't change their gameplay. It's always been something that I really don't like about how people play the game, is when everybody plays as if they're the sun and the rest of the players are the planets. Like, you are not that. Like, it is an interchangeable thing where sometimes things are not going to go your way and you have to be adaptable. That's the biggest part of the game. And that's why, not getting back into past seasons, but that's why Nick's win in his first season was so surprising for me, because I was like, he doesn't seem like an adaptable player at all. He's just in the right circumstances. And I'm not going to say he didn't have certain things that he did that were effective, because
correct. I agree.
But that's the takeaway I got from this season, is like, he's not okay when things don't go exactly how he expects them to. And when that happens, all of a sudden it's, well, no one's playing the game. But you weren't playing the game for the other 4 votes where you were in the majority.
Like, were you playing the game when Amber was trying to stick around? Were you playing the game? So it's like, you were able to ride certain levels of, well, it ain't me, so I'm just gonna hang out. And you've done that so much, and you've made such few impacts on like the overall like strategy of the game, where everyone just kind of sees you as a body and not a player. And I understand being frustrated about that. I would be as well, but I'd also not play the game. When Tyson was on thin ice, he was, I'm going to vote for Nick because Nick doesn't do anything. So I'm like, the fact that was said episode 4, I think it was, maybe 3, I don't know. When that was said, then you think Nick would be like, well, if that's how I'm being perceived, why don't I try and amp this up a little bit? And who knows, maybe he did. Maybe it's the edit. I have no idea. But I'm just like, oh, people are still saying Nick is kind of just hanging out and not doing anything. Shocker.
Right. Um,
Uh,
yeah, it didn't surprise me at all to see as like later in the episode when he started having more meltdowns and stuff, like his answers at tribal, he just like he can't. I only want to make this point because I think it's a big point for the Survivor fandom, because the way that Nick responds is also how fans react, and that's if someone's not doing the move that you want them to do, that doesn't mean they're not playing the game. It just means that the move that they're making in their mind is the better move. So if sticking with the majority is good for them because they're number 3 on a totem pole, then that's a good move because jumping ship puts them at number 7.
yeah, exactly. So it's one of those ones where, hey, don't get me wrong, the people you want taken down, I also want to take down, but I'm not going to try and rock the boat this early.
Right.
It's like 11 people is 11 freaking people. What I found really fascinating about the two things that I found very, very interesting. The first of which, and I love when this happens, Michelle is venting to Adam about how she was blindsided. And she's effectively venting to the person where had things gone her way, they would be gone. I will never in a million years understand. Like maybe Michelle just had that conversation with like 7 people and Adam was just one of them. But the last thing I'm ever going to do is like complain to the person I just voted for and said, oh, well, I'm clearly out of the loop. It's like, you don't complain about that because you're effectively saying, had I had my way, you would not be here. So
Right.
I'm really upset about that. I will never understand that logic, and I will never understand people do that. It's got to be food deprivation or sleep deprivation or dehydration. I have no idea, but I just always find that so funny, whether it's Survivor or Big Brother, complaining to the person you wanted to see leave about them not leaving is fascinating.
The only thing I can imagine is if, and if, again, there's only going to be so much they show us with the edit, but is if she had started that conversation with, everybody told me that they were writing your name down, so that's why I did this.
That's a
That's
very
the,
fair point. That's a fair point.
and and not that I find Michelle to be the most riveting player in the world, but knowing that she has a good social game, I 100% believe that's how the conversation probably started.
I'm willing to agree with you. As far as her social game, I think her social game is the fact where it's like, you're cool, you're pretty to look at, and you say some things that are funny and charming, but mostly you're not really a threat to anybody's game. Is my thoughts on that. That's one of those ones like, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I am wrong. I will check my Rolodex for the truth. It's still there. I also thought it was really fascinating because I was like, well, now that Wendell's gone, what is Michelle going to talk about? And after like venting about Wendell's departure, oh, look, Michelle has, wait for it, nothing to talk about, which I found very unsurprising. The second thing that I found very interesting in the post Wendell vote out debacle was that what we got to see was Tony coming in and kind of, hey Adam, or not hey Adam, hey Nick, calm down. This is what's going on. Hey Michelle, everything's cool. So they show, I'm sure multiple people went in and tried to smooth things over, but the fact that Tony is the one that we were shown doing that, I found to be very interesting.
Yeah, I think it could be interesting foreshadowing moving forward.
Exactly. I have never been a crazy Tony fan, but he has slowly kind of started to climb the ranks of people where I'm like, if he were to win, I'd be surprised, but I also wouldn't necessarily hate it.
I would say, especially based on this episode, and I do have some thoughts to add to that as we go along, but there
Okay.
were definitely moments with Tony that surprised me in a good way. And I am actually really appreciating him more and more. And that's, I mean, when you, let's put it into perspective here, though, I'm not saying, oh my God, he's my number 1, number 2, or anything. It's probably my number like 8 or 7, which
Yeah.
is still not bad because there's a lot of people I personally like here, but
Yeah.
he has grown from someone who I didn't even want to see in the cast to someone who I think is now playing very well. Um,
I agree.
we do hop over to Edge of Extinction for a little while. Um, Natalie, well, first, there's some weird clue about going back and tracing your steps or something like that, like history will repeat itself. And we see people kind of split off into groups. Natalie has an interesting confessional that Wendell and Yul, she said, Yul just got here and Wendell just had a merge feast. So I don't want them to get these coins because we're trying to split some food, which I found interesting. Like, yes, absolutely understandable for Wendell, but like I don't think Yule had a reward for a while either. So like Yule hasn't really eaten either.
I thought it
But
was horrible
fuck
because
his drag, right?
right? I was like, I think this is horrible that they are trying to exclude my husband from being able to enjoy some peanut butter. And like I think everyone thought that Tyson was crazy. It's like, oh, you have a token. Let me get some peanut butter. Everyone thought that was nuts. They really must be starving those people in like a season 1, season 2 kind of way. Because I'm just like, all of you are content to just do this peanut butter situation. It's got to be bad.
I mean, and who knows how much peanut butter they actually bought, but again, it's peanut butter like Jenna for some peanut butter, so I don't care. Um, I do think it was funny when Parvati and Danny did find um, the fire tokens based on what season was it that they mentioned?
I
I
think they
can't remember.
mentioned,
The other Edge of Extinction.
I think it was Edge.
Wentworth found it on Edge. Or no, Aubrey found it on Edge. I'm
Always on
sorry.
Edge.
Yeah, Edge of
Yeah.
they went to that same place. So clearly, we're on the exact same island. In
Yeah.
case CBS didn't already make it obvious that they don't use locations, we're on the exact same place where people have already been for Edge of Extinction.
I feel like
Harvey finds it.
CBS gets like 50% of their money back every time they film in Fiji. They are not moving for any good reason.
Oh,
Ever.
absolutely.
And
Harvey finds it and goes, "Oh my god, I did something," which I thought was hilarious. I love her.
She's so darn captivating. I can't control it.
We have to talk about this moment where she and Danny are debating on how many tokens to charge Michelle, specifically Michelle, because they know that Michelle has the most tokens out of anybody left in the game, which obviously Parvati knows because she gave Michelle all of her tokens.
Yes.
And so how do you feel, because I think we're going to disagree here. How do you feel about one coming up with the 4 token amount? Do you think that was too much, and was it really just a big gamble hoping that Michelle would take it? And how do you feel about Michelle actually purchasing this 50-50 safety?
Okay, so hands to God, when they were like, let's go for Michelle, I was like, perfect, genius, that's a person to go for. She is effectively the Monopoly guy right now. She is the bank. She's got all the cash. Going for Michelle made all the sense in the world. For me, offering it for 4 tokens, I was like, y'all just wasted around, because there is no way, if I'm the person in question, there is no way in heaven or hell I am ever going to pay 4 fire tokens for a 50-50 chance at safety. Absolutely not. That's one of those ones where 2 fire tokens to be like, maybe 2 fire tokens to be like for the 50-50 coin, 4 fire tokens for it. This is as good as an immunity necklace. And so when they said 4, I was like, these people are dumb. Because what person on pure air is going to go for 50-50 chance at safety for 4 fire tokens? That's it. Like 4 fire tokens to me, I don't know how many more tokens are going to be given out this season. But to me, that is, hey, I want to buy a hidden immunity idol. Like Michelle's had the most tokens in the game for how long now? So when they did that, I was just like, no person in their right mind. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and buy this. I was like, Michelle is officially dumber than the people on Edge of Extinction. I can't even.
Here's my thing. Because I agree and I disagree. First off, I think the act of charging 4 was so much riskier than what Michelle did. And the reason why I say that is because and as a viewer, I have no idea what the fire tokens get you as a player in the game at this point. At this point, all I know is that people are collecting them and they're getting rewards from people from Edge. I know at the start of the game there was something about you get an idol, you get safety, blah blah blah. But like I haven't seen that list. I don't know if it's been around. I know a new one was introduced at the merge, and Tony like mentioned that everything was so expensive.
Yep.
But like I don't know specifically how much an idol costs. So if you have 4 tokens saved up and an idol is 10 tokens, at this point you're like, well, fuck. So that was my first thought, was like, okay, let me give her some credit, because if the amount of tokens that you have to save is like astronomical to a point where it's not going to ever line up for you, then don't bother. And charging 4 tokens is really ballsy. So I actually found more fault with Danny and Parv in this move than Michelle. And the reason why is that at this point, you have 11 people in the game still. Now it's down to 10. We know that, yeah, you have a 1 in 10 shot of winning immunity, but do you really? Because there's going to be challenges that favor certain people. Michelle has won immunities before, but she's not an immunity threat, I would say, by any means, in any of the categories.
Yeah.
This power, yes, it's a coin flip, but that's 50% odds of getting immunity around, rather than a 1 in 10 or worse shot if you need it from a challenge. So yes, it's bad because it's left up to luck, but you're already in a situation where if you're in a minority, which Michelle is right now, and you know that you're going to be the target, you at least have a 50-50 chance of surviving, rather than a 0% chance of surviving unless you find a hidden immunity idol.
Fair.
That's my thought.
Yeah, I think taking everything that you just said, you bring up very valid points. I still just think the price tag was too high.
Yeah, and I mean, I think everybody's going to look at it in their own way, right? Like, is my game worth a coin flip? But to me, I would rather my game be worth a coin flip than my game not be worth anything. Like, then I didn't at least take this chance, or that I held on to all these fire tokens and then I still just get 8th place and I never got a chance to buy an idol or
Right.
something.
And to me, that's a very valid reason to say the longer I hold on to all these tokens, the longer I'm probably going to be a target. But I also feel like the tokens could have very easily been like a leverage chip for Michelle. I was like,
Right.
it didn't work out for Sandra. I just think I don't know if it's something that we just haven't seen in the edit. I just think there's so many opportunities with 4 fire tokens that Michelle might have been able to try and take advantage of the situation, just by being like, hey, if we come back here and all this is done, you get a fire token.
Right. Well, and I had 2 other thoughts that also contradict each other, but I did want to throw some of that out there because I know I saw a lot of people like, I can't believe Michelle was that dumb. And I don't necessarily think it was dumb. I think you have to weigh like
Yeah.
what
Oh no, you're
rather than
freezing.
what's
You are.
right. Oh, I'm frozen.
You were freezing on my side. Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. You have to weigh like what is coming in the future that I don't know about versus what's right in front of me right now, and will that possibly benefit my game? And that's a really tough thing to balance in Survivor, where we see advantages that we've never seen before popping up
True.
all the time. So the one thing that I do want to dock Michelle for is that, knowing that the people that she has good relationships with are the ones that are heading to edge of extinction, holding on to those fire tokens, she may have ended up getting better offers for idols and stuff going forward from allies like Wendell or Parvati or other people who might be going there, like Nick, who is the big target of the minority at this point. And I also, to counterpoint that, I don't fault her for spending all of her fire tokens, though for me, 3 would have been the max that I would have taken this thing for, because Nick is probably going now or soon, before we get to the end of the episode, and
Okay.
he's going to get his fire tokens.
Yeah.
So, she's probably thinking, well, I'll just get more. So,
He's like, everyone keeps giving them to me.
right.
The thing that I found very interesting about the whole dynamic involving the fire token situation was the fact that Parvati was like, I wonder if what Parvati's mindset was when she's like, I'm gonna ask for 4, knowing that was gonna bankrupt Michelle. It's almost just kind of like, was it, hey, we just really want this peanut butter, or was there an added layer of this is gonna potentially mess up Michelle's game?
I
Or
don't think.
like, hey, this might actually give her a potential advantage in the game. For me, like a 50-50 chance for one round, to me, I'm just like, so at least with an immunity idol, you can hold on to it. You can like decide to use it later. You actually have the ability to cancel out votes. That's where I'm just like, that for me, 4 tokens seems fair for that. You're right though. I don't know what the actual menu cost of items is. But yeah, it's kind of like, hey, we're getting this peanut butter, we're helping ourselves out, but we're also potentially screwing over Michelle, which I'm curious if that was part of her thought process or not.
I can't see that being part of it. The only way I could see that maybe being like a subtext of the episode is if Wendell went to Edge of Extinction and told Parvati, like, oh, Michelle and I were working together the whole time. You were never going to get rid of me. Like, blah blah blah. Because Yule also went there, so Parvati and Yule are probably like, wait a minute, Michelle really fucked us, but who really knows? So
See, and
I don't think she would have.
this is why I'm like, we as an audience can't find out like what happens when people get to Edge of Extinction together, because they have to have like the 20th confessional with Adam talking about the rain. I was going to say, because they have the dubious task of cutting out the fat of the show and taking out the less interesting bits, like people confronting those who just voted them out or had voted them out previously. We have to get the weather report from freaking Adam. And
Obviously.
it's like,
So we leave Edge of Extinction. We finally see a reward challenge. I could not believe myself. I've been waiting so long for a reward challenge.
I,
Um,
I was thrilled.
Jeff Probst says it's going to be a schoolyard pick, and then we don't even get to see the schoolyard pick, which I think is unfair. I want to see the order that people are picked for this challenge.
Agreed.
Um,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. You're fine.
This was my first. I had like 3 did you notice moments this
I
episode.
think I had a few as well.
What was it? They all happened within the frame of this challenge. And my first one is technically the one that is my real did you notice? Because towards right before the merge on what was it, New Dakal, I think it was, we saw like this kind of union forming between Kim, Jeremy, and Denise. And anytime there's like a on the red group, there's this player, this player, this player. You know me, I'm always sitting there like Denise, 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 Denise. And the fact that Denise wasn't chosen, I was like, wait a minute, who were the 2 team captains?
Yeah.
It was literally Jeremy and Kim, who were both supposed to be super tight with Denise. And I'm like,
Well,
but what happened though?
I thought this was a very interesting moment because Denise wasn't picked, and we just left this notion of entering the merge where Denise is a huge target, wins immunity to save herself, and then in the very next challenge is not picked, even though people think that she's a threat. So I'm like, okay, so obviously she's not being posed as a challenge threat, which is probably very good for Denise's game. So I don't know if maybe that was a move by Jeremy or Kim to try and downplay Denise's threat level, or if they just really didn't find value in putting Denise on their team. But I'm like, this girl just won immunity. She has proven herself as a capable swimmer. She's not weak. She does CrossFit. She's smart. I would never not pick I'd probably pick Denise before half this cast in a challenge to be on my team, but that's just me.
So, well, part of me was wondering, like, maybe not picking Denise was more of like a preventative move, because if she were able to get food, she'd be able to get strong. And if it had been anybody else that hadn't picked her, I would have been like, that's probably why they don't want Denise to go on an immunity streak and not be able to get her out. The fact that Jeremy and Kim did not pick her made me go, what am I missing? Like, who moved the rock? I have questions. So I found that to be very, very interesting. Outside of that, I didn't really care too much about how the groups shook down. I found it fascinating that one group was all men. I thought that was fascinatingly like, oh God, puke. And then, yeah, that's really all I had up until that point.
Yeah. The challenge for me was not anything super exciting. We do end up seeing the group with Sophie, Sarah, Michelle, Ben, and Kim winning. Sarah gives up her reward for Nick.
Yeah.
And a lot of people feel a lot of ways about this, especially Denise, who has some fun remarks back at camp. But I wanted to throw this out there first and foremost because obviously I do think it was strategy on Sarah's part. I don't think it was, oh, I'm just being a human being, blah, blah, blah. Whether she was or not is not the big thing. For me, this is not that big of a sacrifice to make. They just had a merge feast.
Yeah.
Like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So who cares that she gave it to Nick for his birthday, because she's still well fed. The whole tribe is still well fed, and all she's giving to Nick besides this opportunity to go to a feast is maybe a chance to find a hidden immunity idol or a clue to an idol at this reward.
There's that. I honestly felt like it was more genuine than disingenuine, just because I was like Tony's reaction, I think, was almost everybody's reaction. Like, regardless of what your motivation was, it's what it does for you in the position of this game.
Right. But
Like,
like if I were Nick, I would be like, I don't like thanks, but I don't owe you anything, which is what he said.
exactly
Because
what he
again,
said.
everybody's still well fed at this point. Nobody is dying from starvation. If it was top six, I'd totally get the frustration about it.
Yeah,
And like it would be a big sacrifice on Sarah's part. That is not the reality that we're at right now. So if she did it as a gameplay move, it was a sloppy gameplay move. If
yeah.
she did it as being a human being, that was really nice of her. But regardless, no one's it's not that big of a sacrifice.
Yeah, I feel like it's more of a gameplay move if it's like if she expected anything out of it. I really don't think Sarah expected a thing out of that, except possibly like, yeah, people might take issue with it or be like, oh, Sarah's being super manipulative, and she's just like, whatever. And if anything, it kind of
Right.
made me respect her a little bit more. Like, I personally would never have done that. Mostly because if I don't eat, I have no social game because I'm about to start telling people about themselves in detail. And nobody needs that, especially me in a game for $2 million.
The reason why I wouldn't have done it is exactly because of what happened. Because I would be afraid that people would target me thinking that I did it not being genuine. And like I would do it to be a genuine person. Like, oh, it's your birthday, go, like you're fine.
Yeah,
That's the way I do things. It's like, oh no, like don't worry about it, whatever.
yeah.
But like
It would have,
people would take that as, oh, he's trying to go overboard and get jury votes. And like that's not,
exactly.
you know.
Well, and that's just it. That's definitely a moment that people are going to be like, if Sarah gets to the end, she gets to be like, yeah, I played cutthroat, but I also played with the heart. $2 million, which I don't foresee Sarah going to the end. I would not be mad if she did. I think she's playing a very strong game. And I think as probably from like a gameplay standpoint, one of the most threatening females in the game from the start. I think for her to put the spotlight on her like purposefully, I'm like, if she manages to make it to the end, that's badass.
Yeah. Hold on, I have to try to wake my dog up because she's snoring.
Hooray. I was going to say, I'm glad she's comfy. We had this interesting moment. My second did you notice moment happened during the puzzle of the challenge. So basically it was like a row of like fish puzzles, or basically you had to line the fish up, and basically it was like head to foot, head to foot, head to foot. And I don't know if it was just, at one point I went back and rewatched the challenge, because I swear in every shot, I don't know if it was on purpose or if it's just what happened, in all but like 2 shots for the blue group, Michelle is like holding the fish, or Michelle is like handing the fish to Sophie. Like there, and then the one time you actually, one of the only times you see her actually trying to manipulate the puzzle pieces, it's like, here's one of the fishes, it's like a 6. And instead of like flipping it so that it would be a 9, so it
Like
would,
head.
like she's trying to put like all the heads together, and I'm like,
I did
why
notice.
are you in this season? I don't understand.
I specifically wrote in my notes when their group won Sophie, Queen of Puzzle Solving, because it was not Michelle that helped at all.
Oh my gosh, it was so fascinating. There was, when I went back to rewatch it, there was one bit where she actually did move something and it looked like it helped. I have no idea, but I'm like, that was one out of like the 6 times I kept jumping back and forth between the 2 groups. Otherwise, it was fish Queen Sophie, fish Queen Sophie. Let me put this fish down for you. So
Um,
I found that fascinating.
I don't blame you. It's been a running theme with Michelle on puzzles. It seems where she tends to not do much, but somehow she's always put on the puzzle.
Yeah, I don't get
Um,
that either.
we hop over to the immunity challenge. So Michelle did buy the 50-50 advantage. She has that going into this immunity. Obviously, winning would be really good for her, so she doesn't even need it. But right away in this challenge, we see Michelle basically drops out immediately.
Shocker.
Um, it's kind of we've seen this challenge a few times. It's a fun one. I like it. I would hate doing it. I'd be so bad at it. Part of me almost thinks that it should be easier once you get to the top of the platform.
You would think.
Yeah.
You would think. I found it very fascinating that Denise went out so early. I wonder if it's because she's just not particularly tall. I have no idea. I don't mind this challenge, but I don't like challenge after challenge after challenge when it's like, who can hold on to this longer? Who can stand on this longest? The next challenge, I promise it's going to be either that one with like the circle, and you have to keep the ball going. It's gonna be the last person to drop out. And I get it from a production standpoint. Those challenges are not expensive to make. It doesn't take a lot of time to put them together. You got to paint a couple wheels and get a couple balls a certain color and call it a day. But to me, I'm like, can we please get some diversity in these challenges? Is that not possible?
I think we're definitely going to see that challenge come up. Unfortunately, it's one of the challenges I really hate. But I didn't mind this one being back to back with the other one, because the other one I don't like. This one I find to be it's a balance challenge. The other one that we just had it's not really a balance challenge. It's like an endurance challenge.
Okay.
I didn't find them to line up too much, because I don't think holding onto a pole has anything to do with balance. I think it's about.
I definitely agree with you there. Yeah, I definitely agree. It's definitely more of a strength-based situation versus on the other one, it's more balanced. But I also believe, like, just setting your feet on those really tiny things, that's still strength, though. That's strength in your legs. Balance definitely plays more of a role in this week's challenge than last week's challenge. Wholeheartedly agree with you. That being said, I'm just like, it's literally who's the last person to fall off.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks in a row, what was it? The first time I noticed it was blood versus water when Tyson won. It was like, who can hold on to this the longest? Next week, who can hold on to this rope the longest? Week after, who can stand on their head? And I'm just like, oh my God, what has happened to the budget of the show? Jeff Probst is still rich. Stop paying him so much.
I have 2 did you miss it moments from this challenge. Probably one of my standouts of the episode. Jeremy's noises during the challenge were like otherworldly. He was like, I don't know what was going on, but he kept making these weird freaking noises. And the other unfortunate did you miss it moment, the Winners at War song is back again. Why?
Okay, I might be I'm probably the cheese that stands alone. I don't mind the song. I don't love it. But I think if anything, I'm like, if it gives us like a small reprieve of like Jeff Probst trying to be the Greek chorus, every time it's like such and such, or what was it when Jeff Probst is like, this is how you stay in Survivor, and then it's like Jeremy falls off a second after he says that, and the whole point of him saying it was because Jeremy had saved himself. It's like, that's how you stay in. Jeremy falls off, and I'm just like, see, moments like that, I'm like, Jeff Probst, just let the challenge play out, please. So I think that's why the song doesn't bother me as much, because I'm just like,
I just feel like it's such a like jumping the shark moment, like having your own specific not very good song about the name of the season that plays throughout your challenges. And it's not like they try to make it all like, ooh, like creepy cool, like Winners at War coming for you. Oh, it's just terrible.
No, I want the club remix of that song where it basically is just like, coming for you, so like, yeah, I want the whole thing.
What it reminds me of? That, and I'm sorry, actually I'm not sorry if I offend anybody out there. That awful song from the Hunger Games that's like the Hanging Tree or something, that they then tried to turn into some like techno remix for the radio. Are you coming to the tree? That's what this Winners at War song reminds me of. And that song from Hunger Games is always like the low point of the movie. I was like, it was cooler in the book because I didn't have to hear it. And that's how I feel watching this.
This might be my favorite thing you and I have ever disagreed on. And I don't disagree with anything you're specifically saying. There's definitely a connection between those two songs. That being said, it doesn't bother me as much as it bothers most people.
Clearly.
I think I'm focusing so much more on like, God, can we just get Adam out of this game? Who do I have to kill? Who do I have to flirt with? I don't even care. Let's make it happen. So that's 120% it. So yeah, the song's not winning any Grammys anytime soon. That being said,
right. We do see. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I forgot that I wrote a note. And I think, again, this just is a testament more so to why I don't mind the song. When Jeff Probst says things like, this is how you fight or stay in Survivor, and then, like, Jeremy falls out. The other one's like, these are the kinds of showdowns you want in Survivor, when it just got down to Ben and Kim. And I was like, What kind of showdown are we talking about? I'm confused. It's almost, to me, it just felt like the subtext was, "Are we doing such a great job on this season? We're giving you what you want," and you're like, but there's always going to be two people in a showdown.
Maybe it had gone on for a while, and so Probst was impressed, but on our screens it went on for 30 seconds. So
Maybe. I have no idea. I'm that person at a challenge like, honey, I want as much time to strategize as humanly possible. Can y'all wrap this up? I got somewhere to be. I was going to say, my oven is preset and I don't want my house to burn down. Let's go. So, yeah, Jeff Probst says things that just makes me go, what?
yeah, that's classic Jeff.
Yeah, I'm like, do we drink before these challenges? Because don't get me wrong, if I were Jeff Probst, I wouldn't show up to a challenge sober ever in this life.
We do see Kim wins the battle against Ben. Very happy about that.
I wasn't.
Let's just take a moment and just praise Kim for being not only immune and now in the top 10, but she still has an idol that Sophie found out about on day 3, 4, 5, 6. That's crazy to me.
The fact that it has not been brought up, I feel like it's only ever going to get brought up the episode she goes home or the episode she uses it.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating.
Foreshadowing, but remind me to come back to this point because I think we're going to see something from that idol this coming episode. But if you remember, remind me, because when we talk about what's going to go on next episode, I think that might be a last-ditch effort from Sophie and Sarah to save themselves. So maybe exposing her idol and saying, well, she has an idol, so we can flush that right now and take her out.
God, I would die. I just want the women to stick together. It's never going to happen. I just need a woman to win the season. Any woman other than Michelle, I would be perfectly happy with as a winner.
Finally, even numbers. I'm so happy.
Wait, that's right. It is even.
It's even now. It's about time.
The men.
We see once we get back to camp, Nick kind of immediately makes up that Sophie threw out Tyson's name, which is interesting. And then Tyson immediately throws Adam under the bus for the Sarah push. So like there's a lot happening right off the bat. Obviously this group of 8 looks like they're going to stick together and they're going to vote for Nick. Tyson is trying to make a move because he realizes like coming back from Edge, that's what he has to do. He has to make a move. And instead of kind of exposing it for the people that were doing it, he's like, no, I'm going to blame Adam because I want Adam to go. Thank you, Tyson.
I think the other people were talking about getting rid of, was it Ben? And then, no, it was Sophie. And then Adam was like, and then he was like, you'd rather Sarah? And he was like, yeah, we need to split up Ben and Sarah, which I find so fascinating. That, again, I'm like, is that an editing situation? Because to me, it seems very obvious that Sophie and Sarah are close. Well, that's because I'm not out there.
I think, well, I don't think it's necessarily the editing. I think there is subtext that we've been shown that hasn't been explained thoroughly. So back on Yara, when it was down to Sophie, Adam, Ben, and Sarah, remember Adam's little meltdown with not knowing where the idol was, but being very sure that Sophie didn't have it? Yeah. I think Sophie double agented herself and told Sarah, get close to Ben, I'll get close to Adam, and that's where we're going to go from. And I think Adam doesn't realize that Sophie and Sarah are close because he thinks it's him and Sophie and then Sarah and Ben.
That's actually, I would love for that to be true. I think there's a really good chance it is true. And to me, Sophie is such a queen.
I know.
Such a queen.
So this is kind of like a complete shit show. Like we're seeing a lot of names coming up in this episode. And it's really crazy to me. I feel like we need to spend a little bit of time here on all the names that are going on, but there are some, I had a huge did you miss it moment during all of this chaos with all the names that came up. And I think it was all but maybe, I counted 3 people whose names did not come up at all, other than Kim, who was immune. During all of this, Jeremy does not move from the bench he's sitting on. He is just sitting in the same spot and everyone's just coming up to him and he's laughing the whole time. He's like, what?
Wait a minute. It was Nick 20 seconds ago, Adam 2 minutes ago, and now it's who? I give up.
And he just he never moves. And I thought that was amazing.
That is amazing.
Adam and Ben have this big confrontation, and I have never been a fan of Ben, possibly until this moment.
Oh my God.
I saw a lot of on my, like, I'm not in the Facebook groups that you're in, but all my personal friends and stuff that commented on it. I have a couple friends that are Adam fans. Pray for their soul.
I was gonna say I can't judge them since I don't know them, but if I knew them, I would judge
them. I felt like Adam was entirely wrong in this entire confrontation. Ben comes up to him, not rudely, not aggressively or anything, and says, hey, people are saying that you threw out mine and Sarah's name because you said we're too close and that's why the vote's on Sarah. Is that true? And Adam immediately lies badly. Adam is not a good liar. He immediately is like, no, I didn't do that. And Ben is like, are you sure? Like, you're sure that you didn't say that Sarah and I are too close? Because if you said it, just let me know. I just need to know. For me, like, the takeaway from that was, like, if Adam was like, yes, I said that because I don't want people to think that you and I are that close. Sarah needs to go. She's getting too much power in the game, and we need to make a path forward for us. Instead, Adam vehemently denies it, and not well. So the
thing he's saying is, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. He did that at Tribal too, which bothered me. But yeah, this whole Adam thing is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who said it. It doesn't matter who said it. Who said it? I don't know. Who said it? Well, it doesn't matter who said it. Did you say it? No, I didn't say it. Who said it? It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Ben is
complimentary. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. It's just Ben and Adam clearly have been working together from the beginning. And yes, they have this strained relationship, but you're spending 24 days with somebody that's obviously going to happen regardless. It's very clear that Adam's name has come up before. Adam knows that his name has come up before, but Ben specifically has never let Adam go. Like, they've been on every tribe together, and Ben has, in some way, shape, or form, you have to acknowledge, looked out for Adam in the same way that Adam in some way, shape, or form has looked out for Ben. They've worked together explicitly. Bless you. So I think it's very weird that Adam is reacting this way, instead of just going, yes, I said that because I need people to take their eyes off of me and to take their eyes off of us and to look at Sarah. So
that's all he had to say. That is all he had to say. And I'm just like, I think what probably happened, what we probably didn't see, is that Adam probably got caught in way too many lies. Because to me, I find it so fascinating because I would not consider myself a Ben fan. I personally did not want him to win his season. And when they announced his inclusion in this season, I wasn't really thrilled. That being said, I don't mind him nearly as much this time around as I did last time. And what I find really funny, and I had to jump in because a lot of the fan groups that I'm a part of on Facebook, they went after Ben. Not as bad as they went after Wendell, which we're not going to go there again. But people are jumping on Ben, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. What specifically did Ben say that was so cruel or hurtful or disrespectful? And again, just like with Wendell, it's like, well, it's more in how he said things. And I'm
like, Ben was not wrong in any way in that conversation. In fact, the most respectable and honorable thing that he could have done is what he did. And he said, Adam, you're lying to me. Like, this conversation is over because you're not going to tell me the truth. So I don't want to have this conversation with you. Yeah. He didn't say it like, you're a fucking liar and you're not telling me the fucking truth. So I'm walking away. You're a piece of shit. He was just like, you're not going to tell me what I need to hear. And so I've heard what I need to hear and I'm going to move on. Like,
that's it. Well, and here's another reason why I can't with Adam is because when Ben makes that decision, like, yeah, I'm good. I've heard what I need to hear. I'm out. He's like, Adam's like, well, you're trying to force me into saying something. And Ben turns around. I'm so happy that it was Ben and not me. Because a split second, Adam would have absolutely caught some follicles in his face if it had been me. So I would have backed up. I would have walked backwards, gotten an inch away from his face and said, excuse me, what? Because no, I'm not forcing you to do a damn thing. I literally asked you a question. I know that you're lying to me. And now I'm walking away. So tell me again how I'm being disrespectful. Tell me again how I'm being a bully.
I don't, and for anybody out there that is an Adam fan, I almost said I totally understand it. I don't, but you have the right to support whoever you want. But I hope that you rewatch this scene because, like, I felt like I was very locked in when it was happening, and I am not a Ben fan by any means. I really have a hard time seeing how Ben was mistreating Adam in this moment. And yes, they've had conversations in the past where it seemed like maybe Ben was being a little harsh because I think it's the edit with Ben being like, Adam, just calm down. Adam, calm down. But he's had to do this for 24 days. For him
Right?
to have handled the situation the way he did, I would not have been that nice. And I was impressed. So,
No, and that's the trick is I'm like, obviously there's only so much that we know, there's only so much that we see, but I agree with you. I
right.
think for someone said, what was it? Now Adam's off to Edge of Extinction and da da da, he played a great game. And I'm like, Adam did not play a great game. And personally, if it were me, the only way I would raise that flag on Edge of Extinction to get my ass out of there is if I were stuck there with Adam. Point blank. And I
Just
will
we're
say
on.
the way that he tries to spin things, it's almost just like someone who's trying to be manipulative but is just really bad at it. Where it's like when he got busted for trying to vote out Parvati and it didn't go his way, it's like what did he say? I got roasted over or in front of the entire tribe. And it's like, I'm sorry, are you looking for sympathy when you pretty much tried to play double agent and got caught?
Right.
He always tries to do that stuff. And for me also at tribal council, because we can probably jump into that next, it's like when he makes a point, he's just the king of making faces. And don't get me wrong, I can respect that because so am I. But he makes a point like, gee, Ben, you said this and I did that. And I'm like, I'm gonna need you to relax your face.
I completely agree.
Relax your mouth by please stop talking, but also relax your face. I could not. So I think Ben got. I think the impressions of Ben that people are getting. I'm just sitting here like, y'all have never actually been bullied before.
Right.
Y'all have never like gone class to class worried that you're gonna get your ass kicked, because that's real bullying. I was like, Ben wasn't trying to like use his size or his tone to intimidate Adam into doing anything. He wasn't threatening like, hey, I'm gonna vote you out if you don't do this. Or he wasn't insulting his intelligence.
He wasn't being condescending.
He wasn't. He literally said, I am walking away. Anyway, so Adam's the one who's like, oh, you're so sensitive and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, I can't.
Well, yeah, I don't know. We're about to head into tribal. For the second time this episode, Adam brings up this fleur-de-lis thing. By the way, it's a fleur-de-lis, not a fleur-de-lis. Please stop saying de-lis. I don't know what that means. It's the second time this thing comes up. So I think it's very clear that we're going to see a resolution to it in this episode. Thank God it's only one episode. I don't have to listen to this for like 8 rounds about, is that thing on the podium real or not?
What's fascinating to me is apparently Adam noticed, I think it was something he had posted on Facebook. He knew that was there for weeks. Like for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I'm in the same boat as you. I'm like, it had been like the thing of the season. Like, is it a real immunity idol? Is it not a real immunity idol? Like every time I'd have lost it.
I would have been over it. But so we're heading into tribal. Denise, Tony, and Jeremy's names have, from what I noticed, I did not rewatch this part, but their names were not mentioned at all, which I think is super impressive. Denise and Jeremy just came off of immunity wins. They're clear threats in this merge. Tony, his name did not come up at all. I couldn't believe it. And I can't remember if Ben's name came up other than Ben and Sarah being tight.
Yeah.
But Ben's name specifically wasn't like, oh, but we should take out Ben. So I was actually very surprised that we had 6 names come up and Ben and Tony and Jeremy and Denise were not any of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just wanted to point that out. I thought it was, especially coming off last week of us being nervous that Denise and Jeremy are going to be targeted because of winning immunity.
Yep.
Apparently didn't happen. And if it did, we didn't see it.
Yeah, and that's one of those ones where as much as people were scrambling, I'm sure someone threw out, especially Adam, I'm sure someone threw out everybody's name. I'm willing to bet cash. But yeah, no, any week that Denise's name does not even get brought up going into tribal council, I'm thrilled.
Right.
So, yeah.
So almost immediately in tribal council, we start to get this big fight between Adam and Ben. And I want to point out that Adam started this fight. I did just go back not an hour ago and rewatch the tribal council. Adam started the fight with Ben by bringing up the fact that Adam and Ben had that talk in the forest, as Adam tries to kind of spin it as a confrontation, um, which it wasn't. But he brings that up at tribal council because he's like, I'm nervous if I'm going home because when I tried to talk to Ben today, he wouldn't talk to me. And like that was not the conversation at all. So obviously Ben's gonna respond. I had some interesting thoughts here though, because um the jury is responding when Ben and Adam are having their argument and everybody else is walking around at tribal talking to each other and whispering. And someone, I think it was Boston Rob, said that Ben is so paranoid. Like, again, there's stuff we're not seeing then, because my takeaway from that argument was not that Ben was paranoid.
Yeah, like literally everything Ben brought up seemed to have actually happened.
Right,
So it's like, tell me again, like if I say the sky is blue and the sky is actually blue, tell me how I'm incorrect.
right,
If Ben says Adam brought my name up and Adam brought his name up, I'm struggling. I'm struggling
right,
to understand where the paranoia is at, because it seemed like everything Ben was bringing up was something that Adam had either like lightly just or like danced around or directly had brought up. So yeah,
right.
I found that fascinating.
The way that that screaming match ends is that Ben says, Adam, I've never brought your name up. I've never written your name down. And Adam's like, I've never written your name down either, but I'm worried that you're going to write my name down tonight. So I'm doing everything I have to try and survive. So, like, you just did the wrong thing by trying to call out somebody that you've been working with from the start. If you had just been honest with him, this wouldn't be happening, period.
There's that. And here's the trick. My favorite was during the whole like, oh, Ben's being so paranoid, which again, I think for both of us, we're like, he is. But the more interesting thing for me, I just lost my train of thought. The more interesting thing is that Adam lands on this whole like as the fight like reaches its peak and then dies is when he's like, it's because I said that because you're so sensitive, and I'm like, what exactly is Ben being sensitive about? And more importantly, were you the one who was literally like rocking and cradling himself last week in tears? And Ben is sensitive? Okay, Queen. I was whatever creams your Twinkie, get it done. That being said, I I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it on sale. I'm not buying it on clearance. I'm not buying it at 75% off. I'm not here for it. My shopping cart is full. Thank you.
Adam is just a shit show. Period. Right before the vote, we have two more Adam what the fuck moments. Um, he asks a group like Tony's there, and I can't remember who's sitting in front of Tony with Adam, but he's like, "Who are you guys writing down?" Jeremy is there. Um, he's like, "Who are you guys writing down?" And everyone there, Jeremy, Tony, they're all like, "Adam, we talked about this. We're voting who we said we're voting for." And they're like, "Who are you voting for?" And Adam goes, "It doesn't matter who I'm voting for." And they're all like, "Yes, it does." And he goes, "No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter who I'm voting for." If nothing else, in the game of Survivor, the only currency is not fire tokens, it is your vote. So if you are proving to the people that have said that they're going to vote with you that your vote doesn't matter and that you can't say the name that you all talked about voting for, none of those people are going to believe that you're voting the way that you talked about, which tells me one of two things. One, you're either really bad at playing the game, or two, you spread so many names to so many different people today that you don't remember or you don't have the same name to tell these three people that are sitting right there, which means you've screwed yourself. So that's what I would take away from someone saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter," or being vague is, okay, well, you obviously don't have the same story for the three of us. So I thought that was very interesting.
I love you to death because I agree with you wholeheartedly. I also am just that person who's like, when let's say you say my vote doesn't matter, I'm like, well, in the grand scheme of how things played out, he was right. I was gonna say because spoiler alert, my poor roommate came out right as tribal council was happening. And yeah, we had that whole situation with him getting in a fight, and I'm just getting more and more annoyed because I'm just like, somehow Nick's gonna go, Ben's gonna go, or they're gonna blindside the entire audience and vote out Sarah or Sophie, or something stupid's gonna happen. Adam's still gonna be here. And he had these comments like you're talking about with the my vote doesn't matter, you're so sensitive, all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm struggling so hard right now to understand what this person is doing. And then I jumped in before we got to talk about the fleur de lis, which I would have absolutely like crapped out my skull if that had actually been a hidden immunity idol. And watching him go for it, it was so cringy because you're almost just like, this is either about to like make my life or it's about to break my life. Well, or my evening, not my life. And yeah, I'm gonna let you take the reins on this one because I'm just gonna get too impassioned if I keep talking.
I want to call out this hilarious awkward pause right before the voting happens where Adam is like, from what I gather, then it's either going to be me or it's going to be Nick or it's going to be Sarah, and people don't want to tell me blah, blah, blah. He just goes on a rant, and then everyone's just sitting there, and they're like, crickets, crickets. And he's like, anybody? Like, what do you expect people to say? You just said it's going to be one of us three.
My favorite moment of the season.
It was just like,
and he just goes, okay.
Yeah, there was nothing to say, and that's the problem with Adam is he said too much, and then there was nothing to say anymore.
Loose lips is all I got.
Think the Titanic. So we go and everyone starts voting, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, Adam playing a fake idol, like if that thing breaks off the podium and it's fake, it would perfectly fall in line with the joke of his storyline all season. As I've been mentioning throughout the season, the editors are having fun with these little subtle moments of Adam just being like unfortunate or goofball and doing things wrong.
Yeah.
So Jeff asks if anybody has an idol and they want to play it, and Adam gets up off of his little stump and goes directly to the podium. And we see like Sarah is like, Tyson's like, like everyone's terrified, and the jury is like, what?
Denise
And Adam,
like, is this man high?
yeah, and Jeff probably is like, what's this guy about? Like, this guy's about to tackle me, because Jeff knows who has idols and who doesn't. So he's like, what the fuck is this guy doing? So he tries to like pull the thing off of the podium, and like everyone's like, Tyson's eyes are super wide because people are like, oh my god, this might be an idol. And after a few seconds, a few attempts of it, it's not budging, and Sophie just starts giggling like hysterically. There was a moment as well that I want to point out where Adam was walking around early tribal council and walked over to Sophie first, which falls in line with my theory of Adam thinking Sophie's his number one ally.
Yeah.
And he's whispering to her like, what are we doing, what are we doing? And she's like, I think fine. But it was like it was not genuine Sophie moment. So like you could kind of see she was like lying. So that was when I really thought Adam was going, because she did not seem like, it almost seemed, because we got side eye of Sophie, but it seemed like she wasn't making eye contact. She was like, I think you're fine. And I was like, that was funny.
Sophie was like, I need this ship to sail to the bottom of the ocean without me on it. Let's get to the boat, Jeff.
So he's trying to destroy the voting podium like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, and Jeff is just glaring at him the whole time like, what are you doing? And so Adam goes back and sits down. He's like, darn it, it didn't work. And people are giggling, and Jeff was like, Adam, walk me through what just happened. You know he's loving
my hand, young child, and walk me through this journey to your life.
What the fuck is going on in here on this day when you were trying to dismantle my podium? And Adam was like, I thought it might be an idol. And he's like, this thing that doesn't detach from the podium, you think this is an idol? And Adam's like,
is it? Can I play it?
Obviously it's not. And Jeff was like, well, how do you know it's not? And Adam's like, is it? Can I play it? I want to play it. I want to play it right now.
Oh, God, I was dead.
So Adam tries to play the hidden immunity podium. I'm sitting here like, I swear to God, if this is actually an idol, I'm tuning out for the rest of the season. I just
Done.
can't.
Done with a capital D. I would have cried.
Um, but it happens. Adam finally, in an 8-2 to 1 vote, overwhelmingly is voted out of the game.
Uh, I can't. I couldn't
Uh,
refuse.
I have a few small remarks in the end of the episode. I was very bothered by Adam's departing words. He said, I made one too many mistakes, which I feel like he made 40 too many mistakes, but
I
I'll give you that. But in his voiceover for going to Edge, he said, um, he goes, I made too many mistakes and it's 3 strikes and you're out. And I'm like, so you were out in episode 2? Because I don't understand how he thinks he only made 3 mistakes. And then he also said that his belief that there was an idol at tribal council forced him. He said, I think he said the word forced him to play more aggressively than he would have, and so he got voted out because of that. I'm
whatever helps you cope.
it,
Whatever helps you cope.
it was 9 episodes of doing damage to your own game, and it stems all the way back. Adam proved in the very first tribal council over on Sele that he was not trustworthy. So, and then he continued to do it over and over and over again after that. So people just, or I'm sorry, not the first tribal council, the second tribal council, but
Right.
um, he continued to prove over and over again that he couldn't be trusted by the same people that he was relying on to give him information. When you don't give people back what you're expecting from them, they're not going to want to work with you. And the fact that they went as far as they did with him, I was honestly surprised by. So, I almost feel bad for Adam in a sense that there are certain people who, had they never returned, people would think more highly of them as game players. I put people like JT in that pocket, and I put Adam in there too. I'm sure there's more if I would sit down and think about it, but
Yeah.
um, him returning proved nothing other than, and this is how I feel about JT, other than potentially their win was a fluke or they needed a strong partner to propel them to the finals. So
Yeah, I think Adam's one of those winners for me. I did not enjoy him in his original season, and I felt when he won, I personally thought that the game should have gone to Hannah, and a lot of people disagree with me on that, and they're allowed. That being said, I felt that Adam's game was kind of all over the place in Millennials versus Gen X, and I felt like he really benefited from the hard work of Hannah and David. David went out at the Final Four, and for whatever reason, no one could give Hannah the credit that she deserved. And I think yeah, that was basically that. So Adam coming into this game and making all the moves that he made, making all the mistakes that he made, surprised not me. So, and I think a lot of people are big fans of his. Like, I can't believe he's playing that way this time. I'm like, it's almost identical to how he played last time. Do you guys watch the show? It's frustrating, but
now that I have the satisfaction of Adam not being in this season, I think I'm going to pause my Top Chef binge and finally go watch his season,
oh my
because
god, can we please drop your bus for Millennials versus Gen
I'll
X?
do it. I'll do
Oh
it.
my god, that'd be the funniest thing ever.
I will finally watch the one season I have not seen.
You
Um,
haven't seen it?
no, we've talked about this. This is the one season I haven't seen, and now that I don't have to put up with Adam anymore, I will go and force myself to watch this season.
How did I manage to forget that you have not seen this? Because I feel as though you're going to watch that season and somehow magically you're going to fall in love with them. And the foundation of our friendship will all have been a lie.
The fact that they vote out so many minority females right away makes me feel like I'm not going to fall in love with anything on that season.
Oh
So
my gosh. It was a rough season to get through, but yeah, the roughest part of watching Millennials versus Gen X is watching Adam win. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, it's a season that's interesting if you don't count the winner. Although I've realized in the last 8 seasons of Survivor, like I've liked the winner maybe twice.
yeah.
Twice.
Um, so we're heading into next episode. We're at the top 10 finally. It seems like Sarah seems to be a big target.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, Sophie, potentially here. Nick is still in the game. He's possibly an easy vote. Do you have any kind of prediction about what you think we're about to see, or?
Well, the prediction that I want to make, just because I try and not have predictions that are too similar to previous weeks, I feel my prediction is Adam has overwhelmingly the most amount of confessionals out of any player. Like I think the player with the next highest
I think is Tony.
confessionals, it's like 10 to 15 behind Adam.
Yeah, yeah.
So my prediction is who I think is actually going to emerge as like the new dominant narrator of the season. And for me, part of me is thinking it's going to be Tony, and part of me thinks it's going to be Sarah. And
See,
it really could be anybody. I'd love for it to be Denise because I'm biased, or even Kim, or I think actually I take it all back. It's probably going to be Tyson.
really,
Tyson's probably going to be the new narrator. I don't know why. I have this feeling, this gut feeling Tyson might go deep. I would really not be upset if he doesn't. But yeah, I'm intrigued.
I think I think it's going to be Tony. I think we're going to see a surge from Tony here. Um, and again, like I said, if I were to rank the people in the game, like bottom four on a personal level for me would be like Tony, Ben,
Nick,
Nick,
Michelle.
probably Michelle. Yeah. So like, I'm not like glued to wanting any of these people to do well, but at the same time, right now I see no way that Nick wins the game. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I won't be upset with anybody left in the game winning because I don't see Nick winning. So um,
So you
I,
say that, and then Nick's going to win, and I'm going to blame you.
there's no way. But regardless, I think I have actually grown to enjoy, which is weird. I've enjoyed Ben and Tony on this season, and I really think we're going to see a surge from Tony. I don't want him to be the other two-time winner with Sandra. I'm worried that that's going to happen, but I think as far as confessionals go, at least, and being the narrator of the season, Tony is a very good narrator, so I think that's where we're going to see him start to take a surge,
Yeah,
especially if Sarah ends up leaving the game soon.
yeah. I'm very intrigued. Between Tony and Sarah, who do you think is going to go home first? If they don't, sorry.
Sarah, because I think people still aren't taking Tony seriously as a threat, and until he gets some solid moves under his belt, I don't see him standing out as a threat among this group. Because he doesn't seem like he's running the votes either, whereas people like Sarah kind of do
Yeah,
seem to give off that impression with the tribe at least. And I think Tony is dangerous because of what he can get to the end and argue in the whole I'm taking out the hyenas. But for right now, the people in the game don't see that, so they're not really going to call him out on it or target him from it.
right. And I think if anything, I'd love the reason why I like Tony. It's almost like Sandra in Heroes versus Villains, where it's like, hey, heroes, please let me vote with you, and we can get rid of some of these assholes. And they were like, no, Sandra, we're good. And then she made it to the end, and they were like, oh, well, she did kind of warn us. This is exactly what was going to happen. So
Right.
he's almost like, I wouldn't be mad because if I think more people, more big name winners or winners with like a big reputation, they're more likely to be like, oh, no, hyenas, please come suckle at my teat. And then when the time is right, let me take you out. Tony's at least being realistic, like, I'm a big target, you a big target. Well, maybe we can try and let the big targets run this game. What?
Right. I mean, right now, I think people have to start considering you've taken out all the old school players from the game except for Tyson. So nobody on Edge that's on jury is going to vote for that person right now, or is going to vote for somebody because of being old school right now, except for possibly Tyson. So eventually, Tyson is somebody that, yes, you do have to take out just because if you're worried that people aren't going to care about the gameplay and they're just going to go, well, Tyson's old school, so we're going to vote for him. Obviously, that's 7 votes or whatever that are stacked on him. So that is something you have to consider. The next person that has the most votes pretty much locked in the bag from Edge of Extinction is Michelle. She theoretically has Parvati, or am I frozen?
Harvey, Wendell, Yule's not going to take her voting for him
Yeah.
personally.
Parvati, Wendell, and Yule, I think, are all three locked on Michelle right now,
Ugh.
in my opinion. So if
She wins this game.
are thinking about that, they need to start thinking, oh shit. I mean, Yule could maybe go on Sophie, but I think Yule is not going to be somebody that's going to vote based on personal feelings at all. So, like, but you also have to keep in mind sometimes with people not voting personally based on, oh, I'm not hurt that they took me out of the game, that doesn't mean they won't vote personally in the fact of I played with this person and I firsthand saw how they got me out of the game and that was impressive, so I'm voting for them. Because that is also a personal perspective where you're not keen to what happened outside of your tribe.
Yeah.
So you are impressed by that one move and that has a forefront in your mind.
Yeah, and that's just one of the many issues that I take with Edge of Extinction, just because it's like you have people who are voting for a winner, and it's like you never got to see me play the game. Like I
I
don't.
think I think it's silly that the edge votes count as I think like it should be like the top three. Like each like maybe like first place gets 3 votes, second place gets 2 votes, and third place gets 1 vote. Like everybody on edge votes and like those are the votes how they're distributed. But it should not have it should be weighted. It should not be like, oh my god, every single person on edge gets a vote for the winner. Like it's great.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why when Chris won, it was very much like, I'm sorry, Chris was never on a tribe. A lot of like Reem was never on a tribe with the other 2 people in the final 3.
Right.
She was on an island where they weren't even truly playing like the social aspect of Survivor. Well, so we thought, with Chris for well over 4 weeks. So it's like, what?
Yeah, I don't understand the
Or for almost 4 weeks, not over 4 weeks. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's just interesting to me. So we'll see.
weird. But yeah,
Um,
I think Tony's going to emerge as the narrator.
I feel like it's going to be Tony or it's going to be Tyson. But yeah, we'll see. Well, thank you, Ryan, once again for being such an amazing co-host.
Thank you for having me. Sorry I'm not as blah as I normally am. I have a splitting headache that has not gone away for a couple days, but
I was going to say my voice does tend to do that to people, so I appreciate your patience. That being said, I'm really excited to see how the rest of the season might shake down. It seems like we have some momentum now, and I feel like every round is just going to get bloodier and bloodier. I can't wait. So
I'm so glad you were wrong about Adam being in the top 7. Thank you.
no one is happier than I am that I was wrong. No one is happier than I am. I wanted to be wrong. Oh, my roommate wanted me to throw out while we were watching it. I said, if Adam gets voted out in this evening, this was around the time the voting was happening. I was like, I'm gonna move out of Las Vegas. Like I will leave the state. So, because I was convinced by the end, I'm like, I want him to go. It looks like he's going. Somehow magically he's gonna survive this freaking vote. So the fact that he didn't, I'm moving either to California, Ohio, or Florida. We'll see. We'll have to decide that later. Anyway, yes, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, please feel free. Leave a comment, send a message. Obviously, our opinions, good or bad, are meant to be taken with a grain of salt. We're not here to bully. We are just here to vent our feelings and often our frustrations. So don't take it personally if we don't love your favorite player. So.
Well, that's better said than I could say. And I'm excited for future episodes of this because we don't have to talk about Adam much anymore.
Oh my gosh, it's like with Michelle, like what you going to talk about now that Wendell's gone? Like what are we going to complain about now that Adam's gone?
I'm sure I'll find something.
Oh no, we still have Nick and Michelle in the game. So yeah, we have plenty still to complain about. So all right. Bye, friends.